Hello, guys. Welcome to the first session in this podcast series. I know November has been nightmarish from Fed regulatory moves in US to FTX bankruptcy. A lot of negativity has been there. Then Blockify, it also succumbed to the FTX contagion, which has led by this crisis. So there has been a lot of negativity. The greed and fear index has been at its low, 25 to 25, 29 in the past 1 month. So but still, however, even all these things are happening, industry pundits, they do believe that there's a lot of scope in this blockchain industry, and a lot of, if we move forward carefully, there's a lot of scope in this industry. So today I have with me Mr. Ritam Gupta. Mr. Ritam, he is the CEO of Blocks, a blockchain tech studio with over 100 employees, and he's the director of DeFi11. DeFi11 is a blockchain gaming ecosystem which handles the frauds and flaws of the traditional ecosystem. So Mr. Ritam is with us, and he will shed more light on how this FTX saga, how this paves the way for blockchain and cryptocurrency in general for the future. So welcome on board. Welcome, Ritam.
Hey, Praval. First of all, thank you for having me here. And it really feels nice to be here, specifically in the market that we are in. I think it's something that is new. I mean, a lot of people are kind of just. They went into their hibernation stage, but I think uh, the builders or perhaps the doers are still kind of doing what they have to do.
Yeah,
So while
2022 has
I first
seen
of
that
all
change of hype, the decline of hype, if we see the year in retrospect.
Yeah, and a lot of people are doing podcasts, and I really appreciate that, and you guys as well. Again, first thing is an appreciation from my side,
Thank you.
doing what you guys have been willing to do. So yeah, kudos to you guys. And I think you really did give a good intro about me. So everyone knows, I think now that I'm the founder for Nonce Blocks and Nonce VC. Basically, it's a dev studio or a
Yeah.
venture studio that has been out in the market for the last 6 years, building for various different projects, being the technical partners for almost all the renowned brands out there. And apart from that, I also head this project called DeFi11. That's changing the fantasy sports game. I mean, that's bringing Web3 into fantasy sports. So yeah, I think you already explained it well. Where do we begin now?
So I have some questions for you. I mean, in line with all of this which has happened. So what I feel are people would be willing to know. So I've drafted some questions. If you can handle them for us, for our audience.
Sure,
So
sure.
I'll begin with the fiasco, the FTX fiasco, so and the Blockify incident. So do these incidents expose the vulnerability of the crypto market in general now? I mean, what is it that people should be wary of now? Some renowned exchanges have come to the ground.
I I expected this to be the topic. Everyone's talking about FTX, and that's the
Yeah.
news. So yeah, just to answer your question, I think yes, in a way it does. It just takes out and highlights all the vulnerabilities and the loopholes that we have. Crypto has been, again, I've been an early adopter of crypto. I've been a guy who jumped into crypto when it was an alien thing. No one used to talk about it. Uh, it was less talked about in a nutshell, right? So I jumped into it at that point in time, but now it's been growing. It has always been a growing space wherein you always see more developers coming in, more projects coming in, more promising guys, and even like enterprises jumping into crypto. The only thing is, again, I've been saying it from a long time that decentralization is good, but then complete decentralization is still something that we are far away from, and it's not something that we can achieve on day zero, right? We can't achieve, and even if we achieve that, it has a lot of downsides to it as well. So we need to be very sure for any technology, be it blockchain, be it AI, be it any other technology. One thing that we need to be sure of is that the pros of that technology should be greater than the cons, right? So that when we take it out in the market, it needs not to be seen just because of the cons. I mean, people are anyhow gonna discard it if the cons are more, right? If the downsides are more. If we have to get an adoption of blockchain, we need to make sure that we use it in a way that the downsides are less. No one can eradicate the downsides. Like it's present in the legacy technologies as well, like legacy softwares, languages, whatever we use. There are downsides to everything. But then what we need to make sure is that the positives and the upsides of everything is something, or upsides of blockchain is something we should be taking forward, and try working on decreasing the downsides, right? So with FTX, I think it has really been an eye opener for a lot of people who were unaware, or who, I think I'm not really qualified enough to say it, but then a lot of people who were kind of closing their eyes intentionally, right? Who understood everything, but then closed their eyes on things or the frauds happening. And it's not really the case that FTX is the first fraud or the recent hack that has happened, right? In the lives of people, in the lives of crypto people.
Yeah.
It's been others. I mean, it's been, I guess, the fourth or the fifth one recently that has led to the market to be in a state that it is right now. But even when people have lost so much in FTX, that proves that a lot of people are intentionally unaware, right? They don't really want to be aware about this. So it definitely is an eye opener for a lot of those people. And with every fiasco that's going on in the market and that's coming out every day in the market, I think more and more people are understanding the importance of regulations, understanding the importance of a stable and smooth transition to decentralization, rather than just throwing everything out in the name of decentralization. It's not really the solution. You have to accept the fact that a semi centralization is required, or let's say a semi decentralization is the need of the hour. As and when we move forward, as and when people start to adopt it more, it will eventually go for the bigger good, right? At this point in time, we need to be aware. So I definitely feel, again, my sentiment towards it is very positive. Um, I I can't comment how much did I lose, how much did anyone else lose. Again, a lot of people saw a lot of pain, and I really feel for them. But the only thing is that we should see the positives from here, right? So going forward, it's gonna get more eyeballs. I mean, crypto is definitely gonna be under more regulation. More regulation means more stability. The volatility that people usually talk about in the market, that okay, if I buy a crypto coin, it's 1 cent today and it's going to be $100 tomorrow, and then when I buy it at 100, it's going to come to like again 1 cent day after tomorrow. That volatility that we are talking about, that people are afraid of, that's going to be decreased. So in the longer run, it's something that we should be happy about.
Yeah, so you rightly said, like you mentioned, that there are pros and cons of this decentralization. But what I feel, the facade of this cryptocurrency to the generic people was the prices, the tokens, the movements. Bitcoin, Ether going from $11 to $3,000 by 2022. So all these things have been the facade. So when this facade is now in not in the best of light, so there's more they are more afraid of what's going to happen now, probably, I think. And as you rightly said, there's going to be definitely more scrutiny around it going forward, that what people are doing, where they're investing, which brings me to my next question. With this scrutiny, which do you think which will be going around, so what kind of checks from people at their end can do? I mean, like, before getting into these exchanges, like, we have also seen in the past, if I talk about India, so there has been a time when the early adopters who got into crypto, there were certain exchanges which shut down after government things. A lot of people lost their monies, and now this FTX scenario which has come in picture. Again, this is the fourth and fifth, as you mentioned. So, what kind of checks people at their end they should be doing, just for the common people who are getting first time into the industry?
Got it. I think this is the most important part. People should be doing their research rather than being dependent on anyone else. The first thing, or I'll say the fundamental rule says that whatever you are investing in, whatever you are getting into, you should have like a basic knowledge about it. I mean, again, I myself have said in a couple of interviews that I see crypto as a gateway to blockchain for people who are not aware about it or who don't know what blockchain is. So that gateway is always there. I mean, anyone who enters crypto, they'll eventually end up being a blockchain user, right?
Yeah.
And that is what we want. But the only thing is, I really I request everyone to do, or maybe to get a brief understanding or a basic understanding of what are the pros and cons again. What can be the risk that you are signing up for? No one can actually judge, or maybe no one can actually predict what's gonna be the destiny of this particular coin, or what's gonna be the future of Bitcoin. A lot of people are doing, but then it all depends upon the utility. It all depends upon like multiple different factors as well. But as a user, I think that's most important. As a community, we should understand that every user who's getting into crypto, he should be aware about the goods and the bads at first. He should be knowing what I am investing into, rather than just copying anyone blindly, rather than just understanding, or like rather than hearing any of the other KOLs mentioning that okay, I'm buying this token, I'm getting into this project.
100x tomorrow.
I think yeah. So I think that's very again, that's distracting. That's not good for the people,
Yeah.
or not good for the community. We the people who are already in blockchain, we the community, we have to make sure that the community should grow forward, right? And if we don't stop doing it, it's never gonna go forward, right? Eventually everyone is gonna hear out the fact that okay, this much got hacked, this much got drained out, this was again the entire FTS saga, blah blah blah, and like I won't be surprised if there are other cases as well. But again, having said that, you should be aware about what you are getting into. And secondly, again, basic rule: be aware. And one step forward, just make sure that you again try to make sure that you have the keys to whatever uh, you are getting into, perhaps like your wallet, right? It's a very common saying in crypto that not your keys, not your crypto. So I think that's what everyone should understand. That until and unless they don't have their key, and I don't think it takes more than 5 minutes or 10 minutes of time to understand how to handle a private key. Even if it's like a troublesome process, I understand that okay, you need to keep it secure, keep it safe. But then if you want to invest in your life savings into something, I think you should definitely invest at least 5 to 10 minutes of your time to understand how to handle those funds, right? Or how to handle, or maybe do the disaster management steps, right? So that's very, very important.
Yeah, so I think that's what people would need to keep in mind. So, I think I'll just get into double click this question for our audience a little bit, basically. So, any particular trends which you think that people should be focusing on? So, because it's not just I know it's not just cryptocurrency, but people, as I said earlier, it's the facade which people see. So, like, if they have to get deeper, any trends which you would like to particularly highlight them? Like, I know DeFi is your favorite. So, apart from DeFi, NFTs, or maybe real estate sectors, lot of happening. So, any thoughts on that?
Um, I won't mention any sector particularly. I would say, I mean, I'm a big time believer in blockchain. So, blockchain is a lot more than crypto. One thing that people need to make sure is that blockchain is not equal to crypto, right? It's crypto is just a use case of blockchain.
Yeah.
Just like we have use cases
Tip
of
of the
blockchain in
iceberg.
real estate, in DeFi, right, in finance, then in healthcare, or maybe supply chain. All of these are use cases. So when we talk about crypto, people usually have this misconception that crypto equal to blockchain or blockchain equal to crypto. So firstly, we need to understand that even if I want to understand blockchain, I want to get into blockchain, crypto is not really the only thing that I have to do. So start exploring different use cases, start understanding what the fundamentals are, how blockchain is, again, it's a beautiful technology, how blockchain brings in decentralization, a trustless system into place, or perhaps solve the issues out there. I think that is what we need to just focus on at this point in time. And I think this is the right time with whatever has happened and the day that we are into today. I think it's the right time to start to understand blockchain apart from crypto as well, right? Other than that, again, like who are already into blockchain, I mean, the users or the listeners who are already in crypto, are pro traders and all, I think for them, I don't have much to say, but then eventually, what I have seen so far in my journey in blockchain, it's a long journey altogether. So I'd say um, there are trends that come in, but the fundamentals stay over there. So we saw like DeFi summer coming in, where companies like Aave bombing up, wherein they just boosted to so many X's, right? So people start seeing different use cases of blockchain into financial systems, and hence DeFi came into picture. Then we started seeing utilities of NFTs. Just other than a collectible, people started to understand utilities of NFTs, and then that gave birth to GameFi. So these are like different trends. If you see the timeline and the graph of blockchain technology, it's gonna be like different trends at different times. There was one time where everyone was talking about like public blockchains and enterprise blockchains then came into picture. Then permission blockchains came in. So it's gonna come, it's gonna go, but one thing that's gonna remain is the fundamental about anything. So the technology fundamentals is gonna stay. I think that should be the first step, or at least that should be the basic step for everyone to understand that okay, these are the fundamentals, they're not going anywhere. Even if the trend comes in and go, the fundamentals remain.
So, you mentioned all that. So, just to tell a brief story. So, like, I got into crypto in 2016. But as you said, it's just the facade. And, I never was keenly interested in it. It was only in 2020 around when I got into NFTs and the DAOs and the structural behind how blockchain is decentralizing all these things that it got my keen interest. And, that made me look forward to it whole as an industry. Before that, as I said, 2016 to 2020, I was not even though I knew, you won't believe, I, one of group of friends, we had a minting machine at our place back then. So we had even that, but was never, fanatic about it. Got only it when I got into the details, as you rightly said, it's a whole lot behind it. So from like, as you mentioned, from DeFi to NFTs to now DAOs, which are coming up, a lot is happening, which, and then the Ethereum merge lately happened, which again had all the high balls. So talking about all these things brings me to DeFi. I mean, your love definitely we know from it has been your, as you said, 7 years journey, 7 to 8 years journey from non-blocks to now DeFi11. So talking about DeFi11, we know that DeFi has also in general has hit a road bump, in its journey now with all this happening. So where does that stand? Where do you think the future holds for DeFi, and what's the way forward?
Firstly, I would say I don't think it's a roadblock or
Okay.
it's a bump. I think it's a catalyst that has been added, and we are just being prepared to go a really long way from here on. As I said, the fundamental that DeFi has uh, taken birth on, that's from blockchain, and that's pretty strong. Even if some concepts are not really working out well right now, the other concepts might do, right? But then just to compare, DeFi is here to stay, as I said. All the facades, right, or all the hacks and the incidents that we have seen, be it like the Arrows Capital, be it like Luna, or be it like FTX, all of those, if you observe them carefully, all of those incidents have come in to picture because of the fact that CFI was involved over there, that's centralized finance. If you see, there has been like recently again a few days back, there was one thing or like one issue that Aave also faced in. There was
Yeah.
a very small attack that was done over Aave, but then with the fundamentals of DeFi, I think they really did well in terms of getting control of that, and nobody lost funds, right? Nobody, there was, as compared to FTX, it was not even 1,000 or 10,000 times of that. So eventually that gives you a clear-cut understanding and a clear-cut representation of how DeFi is better than CeFi. If this would have been on any of the other centralized exchanges or centralized portals, CeFi portals, then the story would have been different, right? Then a lot of the pain that people are experiencing, I think that would have been fourfold. So with that said, I think DeFi has always been my love, and with DeFi11 again, we have combined DeFi with GameFi. So eventually, both of these technologies, both of these trends, I love, and I think it's gonna go a long way. And with the introduction of, just to mention a couple of names in terms of trends, the IDs, the DIDs, decentralized identifications, and then account abstraction is coming in now, and apart from that, the ZK rollups, right? So all of these have been much worked upon and talked upon topics, and I think these are gonna be good additions to the DeFi concept in general. So once we kind of add that, it's gonna be even stronger. The new avatar of, or I'll say like DeFi 3.0 is gonna come in soon.
So DeFi is the only financial architecture that has attracted a marketeer like me. Never been in love with finance in general, but yeah. So talking more about little bit about this DeFi 11. So I learned that you are trying to handle the frauds and the flaws of the traditional ecosystem or the traditional gaming ecosystem. So can you shed a little bit more light on, what are those things that you are trying to accomplish with that, which we say that, overcoming from the general system? So, yeah.
Yeah, so DeFi11 has been a passion project for me, as I usually say. So, fantasy sports has been one of the passions that I had. I've been like a guy who's very much into fantasy sports. I mean, there have been multiple different apps. I will not take names, but then everyone knows like fantasy football, fantasy cricket, and those are like right? Giants in this space. They have captured so much market, but then as a user, I'll say, I mean, I've been playing a lot of fantasy sports, but the probability of my winning has been very less. I really have won, I guess, just a couple of times, not more, and I've spent a lot of money over there. So I was always, again, just giving you a brief backstory, right? So I've always been curious on, is it me or is it something else that's not letting me win, right? But then I realized, I started doing some research about it, and I realized there have been various different loopholes or the pointers that are not covered. There are certain due to machine errors, there are certain due to human errors, but then eventually at the end of the day, it's the user who is suffering, right? When I say these pointers, so I, as a user, I need to believe what's being shown to me. So on a fantasy sports application, when I go on a centralized fantasy sports application, I try creating my team. I see that, okay, 10,000 users are playing, but how do I validate that 10,000 users are playing? How do I validate that, okay, every user has paid that amount that I am paying? So if I am paying like $10 to enter that contest, how do I believe that, okay, all the 10,000 users have given that? Eventually, because there's no way to be doing it. Secondly, the winners, right? So when the winners were declared, as I said, I've never been a winner over there. But then, how do I believe that whatever they are showing on the screen, that okay, Mr. Rama Gopalam has been the winner for the day? How do I get to understand, or how do I get to know that this is a genuine user, or this user actually exists? This can be a fraud too, right? So I really did not want to trust the system. And more than anything else, I was kind of depositing my funds into a system while I can't trust the system, and I don't know whether the system's gonna run away with my funds or whatsoever, right? So I'm in no control of that. So just to combine Web3 and like DeFi and all the other concepts with fantasy sports to bring out a self-auditable system for the users, to bring out a trustless system for the users, DeFi11 came into picture, where we are covering all of these loopholes. We as a company, or we as a fantasy sports app, we don't come into picture, or we don't have any control on the system. It's all a self-running, or I'll say like a decentralized system wherein we don't have any controls over your funds, and we've been very cautious about keys as well, right? Even with before FTX, like long time before FTX, we have been using non-custodial wallets. So it's an in-house non-custodial wallet that we use, wherein you as a user, you don't even need to give us the keys. So you keep your keys, you keep your funds, and eventually, whenever you want to play, whatever you want to play, you can directly come on the app and play. While at the same time, you get to have the full auditability of the system. You get to see that okay, this address has been declared as a winner. So you go to Explorer, you can check that particular address. The virtue of blockchain gives you that, right? So you see that address, that okay, this address has paid this much dollars to what I paid as well, and then at this particular time, not before, not afterwards, at exactly that time, and then the reward has been sent out to him as well. And apart from that, at the same time, you get to have a complete Web2 sort of an experience, wherein even if you are not a blockchain user, you don't need to worry about it. So the interface is complete Web2. So you feel as if, okay, it's just another fantasy sports application, but with the advantages of blockchain. Right? So that's majorly what we are trying to do. And I think it's in the long run, it's definitely something that's gonna change the future of fantasy sports.
Yeah, so I get it. I get it. Probably bringing more trust. I mean, as you said, it's the system is more auditable to the users. They can see what's happening, and the ownership. They have their own, the full ownership of their money, which is there. So makes sense. And I think you have handled the barrier also, giving that experience so that Web2 users and Web3 users, they don't have that barrier of transitioning. So I guess you have handled that also pretty well. So makes full sense now. So I guess we are almost on time, Ritam. So before we bring it to end, I just have one more question to you. You mentioned this non-custodial wallet that even before FTX you have their own non-custodial wallet. So for the users now, again, what do you think is their way forward? Their own non-custodial wallets, hardware wallets, or the exchanges? What should be, I mean, should the split 50-50 or any kind of advice on that part? So last note on that from you.
Yeah, so I think it totally depends upon what your usage of blockchain, or if I particularly say this for crypto, because wallets we need only for crypto, right? So what your usage is, or what your exposure to crypto is. So if you are a full-time trader, or let's say if you're an active trader, I'll say active trader rather. So if you are an active trader, you definitely need funds. So getting things onto a cold wallet or hardware wallet might be troublesome. You might end up not cashing out a trade, right? If you don't have your hardware wallet handy with you. So in that case, you definitely need to just do a diversion, or do like a split between your hardware wallets, your non-custodial wallets, and then your hot wallets or custodial wallets, even if you want to. And if you are someone who's just into crypto for like long-term holding and investing something that's kind of considered as a saving to you, I think then you definitely should go forward and use non-custodial or hardware wallets, right? So the fundamental is again same, that you need to have your own keys, be it hardware wallet, be it your MetaMask, wherein you have taken off the key, or like just imported the account somewhere. Again, at the end of the day, if you have your key, your funds are secured, no one can use it. And then rather than just clicking on anything randomly, just make sure that you don't really end up giving your address to them. And take a fair, or take a well calculated decision in terms of how much should be the percent that you split between hot wallets and cold wallets. With the increasing security flaws that we are seeing, or maybe the hacks that we are seeing recently, I think it's really important to split it so that we don't end up regretting the decisions, right? Even if you are an active trader, I think like 20 to 80% or 30 to 70% ratio can be maintained, wherein 20 or 30 can be kept in as hot wallets, while the others can be the cold wallet funds, right? So yeah, I think it again depends upon the user, but just be aware.
Yeah, as you said, because a lot of time usage also depends. I mean, like sometimes not all wallets are used everywhere, so you might need it at different portals also available money. Nice, nice. It was thank you, Ritam, for all these insights. They were really helpful for knowing what blockchain as an industry has in store for us. And I guess people would
Yeah.
also have got a sense of how we should not stick to this cryptocurrency as a facade, but rather if we are looking at blockchain, we need to dig deeper and get into it from that point of view, from the decentralization point of view. So thank you for coming and thank you for being a part of this.
Mm, Definitely. I would like to end by saying like one common thing. A lot of people say that we are still early, and it's been like 7, 8 years of me being into blockchain. But like every day when I wake up, I feel as if it's my first day. So I think it's really. I mean, we are still early into blockchain, and it's really a good time for us to be jumping into it. So yeah, I think let's work more like a community to get the adoption of blockchain and see a long term scenario from here. Having
Definitely.
said that, really enjoyed talking to you, Prawal, and